I shall always remain a prisoner of war to this fragrant, voluptuous latitude of the planet, fringed with palms and green marshes running beside rivers for 30 miles at a time, and emptying out on low-lying archipelagos running north and south along the coast before the Atlantic's grand appearance. The low country had laid its imprint on me like the head of some ancient king incised on a coin of pressed copper. The whole earth smelled as though a fleet of shrimp boats had returned for a day's work on tides of rosewater and eelgrass.
Prince of Tides author Pat Conroy reads from his new book, Beach Music, a passage depicting the low country of South Carolina that nurtures his art.
I mean, I don't know a different part of a better looking part of the world, or a part that sings to my own soul more than the low country of South Carolina.
Each of Conroy's 6 books has been set here in the lush coastal domain that stretches from Savannah, Georgia to Charleston, South Carolina. Its titular capital, the city of Beaufort. His books are even closer to home than his hometown. His substantially autobiographical epics are drawn from the real-life episodes of the Conroy family.
The thing I've always loved about my family is it did not send midgets and chihuahuas my way. You know, it sent massive, huge figures out of Greek mythology my way. My father seemed Zeus-like to me. My mother seemed like Athena. I have always loved and really appreciated the fact that I was born into this family of great drama. It was something that I always had before me, that I had people that were of a great capacity for eloquence, a great capacity for fury, and a great capacity for love, all set there like a feast before me.
At first, this literary feast seemed more like slim pickings, and he had to pick up the check.
How'd you get your first book published?
We looked at the Yellow
Pages. These are the Beaufort Yellow Pages?
These are Charleston Yellow Pages.
Oh, these are big time.
Beaufort, I couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
And so I found it under printing. I found a company that said invitations, business cards, books. So
it's not hard to get a book published.
No,
you just look in the Yellow Pages.
$2,500, 1,000 copies.
You got 1,000 copies for $2,500?
Yeah.
That's not bad.
It was a great deal.
What did it look like?
It looked like.
I mean, did it look like a real book?
It looked like a real book. It smelled like a real book. It was, and we sold out. When I wrote the next book, The Water is Wide, I got an agent. And when he called up, Julian Bach called up and he said, got great news, Houghton Mifflin wants to publish your book. Here's the great news, it's $7,500. And Julian has never let me forget this, but I said to him, I can get it done a lot cheaper down here in Beaufort.
So you didn't understand the concept of the advance.
He said, Pat, you understand they pay you.
Do they ever? Hollywood paid a princely sum for rights to The Prince of Tides and The Great Santini. And his publisher is paying mightily for Beach Music.
Now when you sit down, you have to write a book that's worth $1 million.
Instead of $7,500.
And I was paralyzed. I mean, just for years, I could not even move.
Really?
My hand.
Honestly, that was part of it?
I think that was certainly for the first year.
Every time you sat down to write something, you said,
$1 million bucks, you mean,
this isn't worth $1 million, right?
Okay, hogs.
With The Great Santini, Conroy began to write about home and family. It was the story of a family headed by an abusive Marine fighter pilot. Conroy says it is his family, his father. His father says it's fiction. His mother said it was a betrayal of family secrets.
She said, don't be afraid. You know, write what you feel. Write from the heart. Write with passion. Now, unfortunately, Mom did not like it as much when I did that as I would have liked, and especially when it came to her.
The Great Santini caused what Conroy describes as a collective family nervous breakdown. Family members stopped speaking to one another. Conroy himself collapsed, and his parents' 33-year marriage dissolved. I
did not realize, you know, when I wrote The Great Santini, I don't even think I knew it was going to be published. You know, it was the first novel I wrote. That my father, you know, I didn't know my family would go berserk when the thing was written. I had never talked about, you know, Dad knocking me around as a kid, knocking Mom around. This had never been spoken of. And I probably should not have done that. But I
You mean
began
that?
to,
You mean that?
I think so. Yeah.
So having some regret for getting started in this vein, what does keep you pouring forth the truth?
Because it is the thing I know most about. The thing I can tell about is my own suffering and the source of that suffering. I can tell where it came from. I know that in this, if I figure out the trauma of my childhood for myself, is, who knows, maybe I'll figure out for the whole world.
With the Prince of Tides, Conroy was back at it, probing the family's troubled past, dredging up the pain and anguish.
I wrote about my sister Carol, who I call Savannah in the book. It caused her great pain. And she said, "You cannot write about me. It is my life." And I said, "I can write about you because it is also part of my life."
Members of the family are growing accustomed to having Conroy lives, even their mother's death, documented.
My mother did, have some knowledge that this would be something I would use. I could not help but use it. And she played up to it. She even told me she wanted Meryl Streep to play the role.
As he wrote beach music, fiction grotesquely overtook reality.
My brother Tom was a schizophrenic who had been hospitalized many, many times. He was our baby brother and a sweetheart. And I got a call last August 31st from my brother Mike saying that Tom had leapt from a 14-story building in Columbia, South Carolina, that I had written a chapter already in the book where John Harden, based on Tom, had committed suicide. I simply could not bear to have that brother die by his own hand in the book. So I called my editor and said, "Look, I'm raising him from the dead." And so I got him back. Pop, you're a cruel, cruel man.
As for his father, Conroy has made him one of the most hateful figures in American literature. And yet, here they are, father and son, together. Conroy says an unhappy childhood is the greatest gift a writer can receive, and to hear him tell it, every day was Christmas Day at the Conroy household.
He said, "Son, I should have knocked you around more. You'd be a better writer." I said, "Dad, if you knocked me around much more, I'd be Shakespeare."
Have you forgiven him in some way?
There's nothing to forgive. I think that's who Dad was. Whatever led me to writing in the first place, I keep trying to go back to that boy, that kid I was, coming out of a family and a background where no one had written. And I think I am speaking for all that family, all those thousands of years, that I am the voice of that family,
Carrying the flag.
that I have been anointed for all those voices, for all those centuries where my family was not heard from, that it speaks through me. And I take it seriously.
Today, the Conroy family has an eloquent voice that flows from the low country of South Carolina and roves far and wide.